328 people were flying peacefully over the Atlantic Ocean. The sky was dark, the stars were out. No one knew that in just 4 minutes, their plane would disappear from radar forever. It was the night of May 31st, 2009. Air France Flight 447 had just taken off from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Its destination, Paris, France. The aircraft was an Airbus A330, one of the most advanced passenger jets in the world. Aboard were 228 passengers and crew. Families, business travelers, couples going home. The mood inside the cabin was calm. Dinner had been served. Most passengers were already asleep. In the cockpit, 3 experienced pilots were at the controls. The flight was going exactly as planned. But somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, something was about to go very, very wrong. At 2:08 in the morning, the plane entered a massive storm system. Dark clouds surrounded the aircraft. Ice crystals filled the freezing air. Then, without warning, the autopilot disconnected. The plane was now being flown manually. At the same time, 3 small tubes on the outside of the aircraft, called pitot tubes, became blocked by ice. These tubes do one critical job. They measure the aircraft's speed, and now they had stopped working. In an instant, the pilots lost their airspeed readings. They didn't know how fast they were going. They didn't know if they were flying too fast or dangerously slow. The cockpit filled with alarms. The pilots were confused. At that moment, the captain was on his rest break in the back of the plane. 2 co-pilots were left alone in the cockpit. Both men were trained, both men were experienced, but they were now overwhelmed by alarms, warnings, and conflicting information. In the darkness and confusion, one of the pilots made a critical error. He pulled back on his control stick. The nose of the plane tilted upward. The aircraft began to climb, but climbing too steeply at high altitude without enough speed is extremely dangerous. The wings lose their ability to generate lift. The plane stalls. And when a plane stalls at 37,000 feet, there is very little time to recover. 11 seconds after the stall began, the aircraft started falling. Nose up, engines roaring, but dropping like a stone. The captain rushed back into the cockpit. He looked at the instruments. He looked at his co-pilots. He said, "What is happening?" No one had an answer. The plane was falling at nearly 11,000 feet per minute. The ocean was rising toward them at terrifying speed. The pilots pulled back. They pushed forward. They tried everything. The alarms screamed. And then, silence. At 2:14 in the morning, Air France Flight 447 struck the Atlantic Ocean. The impact was catastrophic. All 228 people on board lost their lives. The wreckage sank to the bottom of the ocean. For nearly 2 years, no one could find the black boxes. The world was left with only questions. Eventually, deep-sea search teams located the flight recorders 4 kilometers below the ocean's surface. Investigators spent months analyzing every second of data. Their conclusion was devastating. The accident was caused by a combination of frozen pitot tubes, unreliable speed readings, and a series of incorrect pilot responses under extreme stress. None of these factors alone would have been fatal, but together they were. Flight 447 did not fall from the sky because of one mistake. It fell because of many small failures that no one caught in time. And that is the most important lesson aviation has ever taught us. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy in the cockpit is silence.